There's a huge amount of information around us. We live in this vegetable soup thing called life, raw data floating all over around us, 20 to 40 million bits of this raw data, all packets of information. And the brain absorbs some of it. How much? About 7 plus minus 2, depending on how sharp you are that day. So it needs to reduce this volume to decide what's coming in. So what's one of the things it does? Well, it just deletes a whole lot of it. All right, now here's the cool one. The second thing the brain does. The second thing the brain does, it distorts. It alters information. The way it alters information, it's based on what's already inside the brain. So every moment you go through life, your brain stores information. All right? So let's call it the cup of knowledge. I'm just using this Bell bot thing as an example. So as I go through life, imagine that everything I experience gets stored in here. All my knowledge, all my intellect, my intellectual property, everything I know is in this pot. So when knowledge or external information approaches my brain, and it goes in, it's stored in here. This is what's called memory, right? Now, when new information comes, so when this came in, this is a whiteboard marker. Would you agree? It's a whiteboard marker. All right. So the brain has stored this whiteboard marker. But now here, check here. Here comes another one. Oh, what is this? Also, whiteboard marker. So now the brain can put both in the same category, whiteboard markers. But there's a slight difference between the two, because the one is yellow and the other one is red. So the brain will store these two differences. But now, here comes this. Oh, goodness gracious, what's this funny thing? It's not a whiteboard. Wait, so here's what the brain does. It looks at what's already in here to compare it with this, to understand this. So the brain will go, whiteboard marker, I know this funny thing, not whiteboard marker. Oh, writing instrument. Creates a new category, and all these things can fit into the same category. So what's been in my brain used to be whiteboard marker, is now writing instrument. It's altered the information. I'll explain it in a couple of ways. You guys will get this. If I teach a child mathematics, if I take a 5-year-old kid and I want to teach him mathematics, and I say to him, the concept principle of 1 combined with the concept principle equals the concept principle of 2. What will the 5-year-old kid that never studied maths say back to me? Bye. He won't get it. Why? Because there's no reference in his brain to grasp comprehension. So for me to be able to teach him, I'll say 1 apple and 1 apple makes 2 apples. Now his brain can go, new information, what's in here? Okay, connect dots, now I can learn. That's how the brain functions. It uses what's in the brain for comprehension. So now let's take it and put this thing on steroids. I'm going to just do a quick screen share. And I'm going to share a whiteboard with everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write a word on here, a very simplistic word. It is made up of 3 letters, very simple, in a kid's handwriting as well. So I want you all just to read that word and think about it. Now think about it from a perspective, if you have to see that thing, what would it look like? So see the visual of what that word actually, the meaning of that word to you. Have you guys got that? You got it? You got the word? All right. Now, let's start off. Let's just get a couple of you guys. What did you see? What did I write on the board? Central African time. Here's what I want you guys to grasp. This is the lesson behind it. Whatever intention or attached meaning I had of the information I gave you, CAT, is completely irrelevant to what you understood by it. What you understood by it is not based on what I intended it to be. What you understood by it was based on what's in your pot of knowledge. Comprehension gets distorted. External information gets altered according to what's already in my pot of knowledge. When I communicate with someone else, what could possibly influence what's in their pot of knowledge? Their race, their sex, the year they were born, their socioeconomic group, their financial situation, their religion, their culture, their schooling, their education, what they were exposed to. Every single second of their lives determines what's in their pot of knowledge. And whatever is in their pot of knowledge will determine how they interpret information that's coming from me. Now, when I coach my clients, whose pot of knowledge should I use? Mine or theirs? Theirs as much as possible. Will I know exactly what's in there? No. But if I ask the correct questions, I'll have a better understanding. Because if I speak from my pot of knowledge, they might not even comprehend what I'm saying. For some people in this world, certain things are extremely easy to do. For others, it's really tough. So I can take this further. Who's leaders? Who leads a group, a team, people in this life? If you're a leader and you communicate with staff, let's make it extremely practical. So I always use this example of Auntie Martha. Now, Auntie Martha has worked in this corporate for the last 173 years already. Already when I say that, you've already created an image of Auntie Martha in your head, right? So Auntie Martha has been working in this corporate for 173 years. Auntie Martha doesn't speak a normal language anymore. She speaks corporate acronyms. That corporate's got their own language. She speaks those acronym language. Little Johnny joins the company. 2 weeks at the company. Auntie Martha gives little Johnny an instruction based on her platform of knowledge. Johnny hears the instruction based on his pot of knowledge. Johnny does something completely different according to Auntie Martha's intention. Now Johnny gets written warning. Who should get the written warning? My opinion? Auntie Martha. When I coach people, coach them not from your platform of understanding. When you lead people, if you truly want to lead people, lead them from their platform of understanding. If you want to communicate with people, communicate from their platform of understanding. Because sometimes when you communicate from your platform of understanding, they're not on the same page as you. They've got no idea what you say. They don't get it. Or they might distort it according to what's already in their pot of knowledge. Because we do distort a lot of stuff. There are some people in this world that will walk up to you. You might not recognize them. You might think you don't know them. It might be a complete stranger to you. And this complete stranger might say to you, I love you, I adore you. And you'll go, you're a weirdo, what are you talking about? Yes, you might even go into defensive mode. This person might have watched your videos, they might have been observing you and stalking you and going through life. And in their perception, in their map of their reality, they know exactly who you are. They might not necessarily be accurate, but from their perception, they might. We distort so much. Do you know that we distort compliments? I'm speaking very specifically to the ladies in the group. I'm not saying the women, I'm saying the ladies, because some of the men are also ladies these days, so that's fine. So the ladies in this group, you wake up in the morning, you know you're going to go to a beautiful, magnificent event, an event that justifies hours of makeup and doing the hair and putting on the right outfit. Now, I've got a wife and 3 daughters. I've observed this. How do women get dressed when they really want to go to an event? They open the cupboards, they put on something, they look in the mirror, they take it off, they throw it on the bed. They take something else out of the cupboard, they put it on, they throw it on the bed. Eventually, you got this pyramid of clothes on the bed, and nothing fits. I don't have anything to wear. And then very often they end up putting on the first thing that they put on originally in any case, and then they wear that. Now, here's the concept that I want to explain. It takes them 3 hours to get ready. They go out, a friend comes up to them and says, wow, you look fantastic. Listen to this way that we distort compliments. Yeah, I just threw this together quickly. Take the compliment and say, yes, this was a lot of effort. Thank you for the recognition. Come on, guys, we do it in the workplace. His team had a task. The team members weren't playing. He's the team leader. He spent hours on the project, working till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, going to sleep, waking up at 5, continuing for day in, day out to get this project through. Director came to me and says, good job. His immediate response, yeah, it wasn't me, it was the team. That's a distortion. You've just been given recognition for something and effort and energy you've put in, and you held up your hand and you made it bounce away from you because you distorted the compliment. Whatever is in here can be changed. New things can go in. This pot of knowledge, this knowledge you have, this experience that you base all your values and decisions and choices and beliefs and everything upon, has got the ability to alter. New things can be added, some stuff can be taken out, and some of it inside can be changed. You're not a rock, you're not cast in stone. Yes? A lot of people ask me, what is emotional intelligence? And I've got a very, very short answer to that. Emotional intelligence is being aware that you've got a pot of knowledge and that it's flexible and adaptable and allowing it to happen. That to me is emotional intelligence. The third one is called generalization. Generalization, putting things into auto mode without having to focus or think about it. So let me ask this question. Some of you guys are sitting on chairs, right? I know some of you guys are hovering in the air, like a monk, or sitting on a medicine ball, lying on a couch, whatever. Most of you guys are sitting on a chair. Who of you guys, before you sat on the chair this morning, took out a tape measure and did a proper measuring of the chair, did an analytical analysis on the materials, took out your engineering calculator and determined if the chair can actually carry your weight? Some of you guys probably should have done it, because I know I've sat on stuff where I thought this thing is going to carry my weight, and then I got a massive surprise. I remember not too long ago, you know, these plastic chairs you get outside in the African sun when it's a really hot day, they sort of start melting without you realizing. Whoever sat on those plastic chairs and all 4 legs at the same time, they said, bye-bye, and it just collapsed. Yeah, no engineering calculation. So why did you go sit on that thing that would collapse? Well, it's nothing else but learned behavior. When you were 2 years old, you started to walk. A baby will sit on anything. It'll sit on an empty tissue box. It'll sit on a balloon. It'll sit on anything. It'll sit on a dirty nappy even. It'll sit on anything. But we slowly but surely program ourselves that things that look this way, shaped that way, that kind of material should be able to carry my weight. And then we sit on a box, a cardboard box, because it looks that way, it should be able to carry my weight, and it gives way. Or you stand on a plastic drum, and then the drum gives way. So we're constantly going through this process of learning automatic responses. If you had to think about sitting on the chair, if you had to think consciously, this chair I've sat on many a times, it is made of a mixture of plastics and metal, constructed in the correct way, and did a whole calculation, that would have absorbed some of your 7 plus minus 2. So your brain wants to save up that energy. It wants to save up that ability for new information. So what it does, it throws things into the generalization programming of your brain, your automated response. So if you understand this, you'll understand the 4 phases of learning. I'm going to give them to those guys that don't know them. Your 4 phases of learning is, first one is unconsciously incapable. So if you take a 2 or 3-year-old kid, they do not know that they cannot drive a motor vehicle. They are unconsciously incapable. They don't know that they cannot. The concept of driving a vehicle does not even exist in their brains. Unconsciously incapable. They don't even know they can't. At some stage, they start growing up and they start noticing other people are driving vehicles. And a thought enters their brain, I cannot drive a vehicle. Now they are consciously incapable. I know about it, but I also know I cannot do it. Yes? Then we go to a third level. Now some person with a suicide wish takes them and teaches them how to drive a car. And who's taken a teenager on driving lessons? If you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you probably feared for your life at the time. It's a very scary experience, but if you've got kids, sometimes you just have to do it, you know, because no one else is prepared to. So you take this person for driving lessons. Now, who remembers when you started to drive a car in the early days? You had to think about driving the car, right? You had to think about what's the clutch, what is the accelerator, what's the brake, what gear am I in, how do I change the gear? I need to look in the mirror, I need to look left and right, you had to think about everything for you to be able to do it. You were consciously capable. In other words, you could only do it while thinking. But now, remember what I said. The brain wants to spare up the conscious capability for new information. So as soon as we have repeated something, what the brain does, it puts it into the programming. Now we become unconsciously capable, so that I can now, and I've seen some of you guys in traffic in the morning, peak traffic without thinking consciously. You are going that clutch and that brake and that accelerator and the gears and going through that big traffic, busy writing your book, chatting on social media, having breakfast, doing your makeup and shaving your legs at the same time. All of that without thinking. Why? Because it's gone into the generalization functioning, the automated, the blueprint, the default structure of the brain, deep in the subconscious. So I don't have to use my conscious. My subconscious just automatically does it. Now, everything in life, all behavior is learned, and all behavior that's repeated becomes automatic default behavior. Sometimes some of these behaviors don't serve us. Sometimes we adopt them at a stage when it does serve us, but it is very easy for something, once it's been repeated enough times, to go into default. I'll take a quick example. Little Johnny grows up in a squatter camp. Little Johnny realizes he doesn't want to grow up in this economic environment. He wants to better himself. For him to better himself, he realizes he needs to go to school, he needs to get good grades so that he can go to university, get a degree, and have the life that he's dreaming of. But Johnny, unfortunately, needs to walk to school 5 kilometers every single day. On the walk to school, he needs to pass a group of kids that are not going to school, that are selling drugs, doing whatever they're doing, and they want to intimidate and keep Johnny out of school because then they feel better about themselves. But Johnny realizes, for me to get past these kids, I have to scare them. So Johnny adapts a behavior of intimidation and anger, a fake one. So when he comes to these kids on his way to school, he goes, yeah, ek gaan jou klap, ne? He acts as if he's aggressive. He acts as if he's violent. This puts these guys off and they allow him to pass. But Johnny needs to uphold this every single day to get past them. So for 10 years on his way to school, Johnny acts aggressive. Repeated behavior becomes default. Johnny goes to university. Johnny comes out of university, gets a job. 6 months later, he gets fired for anger management. Does Johnny have an anger problem? Or was there a time, I hope this is going to pop some bubbles and shoot some holy cows, guys. Or was there a time in Johnny's life when acting aggressive served him? And because of the repeated behavior, it became unconsciously capable. It became default. It became habitual. Does that make Johnny a bad person? Or is that just a learned behavior that can be unlearned and replaced with something else? Boom. Are you understanding generalization, how it works? The brain loves putting things. The principle of marketing is tapping into the generalization functionality of the brain. Marketing is nothing else but playing on the generalization functionality of the brain. If a company takes a brand and takes an emotional message attached to it and constantly repeats it to you over and over and over and over and over and over and over, eventually it becomes an unconscious, capable response inside of your brain. So when you see the brain, that's the emotion that comes up, that's the thought pattern. You'll automatically go there. Your life is filled with generalizations. You've got millions of generalization programs that are functioning in your life. So we are bombarded with millions of bits. We need to reduce them. So what does the brain do? It deletes, it distorts, and it generalizes. Now, there are two influencing factors that determines what we delete, distort, and generalize. How we delete, distort, and generalize. The moment we know what those two are, we can start to reteach our brains how to do it. Would you like to know what those two are?
Visit actionfactory.co.za to find out more. Change your mind. Change your life.